So now that's the big issue. We cannot shut down the government. The hell with the Constitution. Obama can shred it into 1,000 pieces. The hell with our health care system. Obama can control it, nationalize it, whatever he wants. The hell with the border and illegal immigrants and everybody else coming across. Doesn't matter. Do not shut down the government. You want to know why? There's just too damn many goodies in there to be given out to everybody.
Oh, and we want to show everybody that the Senate is working again.
That's McConnell.
Senate's working again, and we're not going to allow these right-wing kooks to get in the way.
Or Boehner over there.
These garbage men, they have to smell trash too, you know.
But they don't have to smell booze on their shirts all the time, do they? No. So they're going to go through this phony process. I've just told you the government's been shut down 18 times before. Now, you need to know this. We talk in the liberal term of government shutdown. The government never shuts down. Never. Never. That's right. 83% of it keeps running. For those who are a little slow, 17% of it is shut down. It's not even shut down. People are on temporary furloughs. As soon as they get their act together, do whatever they do, all of a sudden they're all paid back. They've been on vacation. A paid vacation. They all know it. This is what goes on in the bureaucracy. But it's very inconvenient. Oh, really? Well, you ought to be at the end of the target of the EPA. You ought to see how inconvenient it is for the coal miners in this country. Or anybody else that works with natural resources, or anybody else that works with food, or anybody who drives a truck, or anybody who does anything productive in the private sector. You ought to see how inconvenient government is for them. No, can't do that. You'll never hear the Republicans fight, ever, as strongly to protect any industry in this country, to protect even citizenship in this country, to protect the Constitution in this country. The way they fight. To keep the government open, which means to keep the gravy train open. That's the point. That's the point. All these so-called essential personnel and essential activities, they never stop, ladies and gentlemen. Congress has actually passed a statute that sets out what shuts and what doesn't shut. Agencies have to decide who's essential and who is not. What job is essential and what is not. Even that is crazy. If they have jobs that aren't essential, they ought to be getting rid of them anyway. If they have work that's not essential, they ought to be getting rid of it anyway. And no, the government won't default. You keep paying your taxes, don't you? Listen to me. When the government, quote-unquote, shuts down, those of you who pay quarterly taxes, you keep paying them, don't you? Those of you who pay Social Security and Medicare taxes, you keep paying them, don't you? You see, the money keeps coming in. The government doesn't default. All it means is it can't spend more than comes in. That's all it means. That's the whole point of lifting the debt ceiling, because they need a debt ceiling increase because they're going to spend more than the amount of money that comes in. But the taxes still flow in. It's just that you have this void between their spending and the income. And it's damn sure about time that thing close, or at least begin to. That's what the fight's over. That's what the fight's over. But because
I want to show everybody that the Senate can work. Do you know how many amendments we voted? We voted on more amendments than Harry Reid and all his...
And there's Boehner over there leaking stories out how hard it is to be speaker. You know, I got to deal with the right-wing kooks. You know, garbage in, garbage out. It's very difficult. Then get the hell out. No, they're working so hard. It's so difficult. Who even wants them? A McConnell spokesman said the Planned Parenthood provision is identical to defunding language the House passed last week. Yeah, the difference is McConnell doesn't mean it. I've asked our buddy Ken Cuccinelli from the Senate, the Senate Majority Fund, Senate Conservative Fund, to come on the program, which he will at the bottom of the hour. And he's going to lay out something very startling for some of you. Mitch McConnell has never supported defunding Planned Parenthood in a significant and serious way. He doesn't care about this issue.
Look, I'm here to make sure the trains run on time.
But what about these little babies that are being butchered and cut up into little pieces in these sleazeballs over their wine and their brie, talking about crispy?
Hey, listen. Is the Chamber of Commerce taking a position on this?
No.
Oh, what do you want from me? When we don't get the presidency, look, we need the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Then we can get things done around here. By the way, did I tell you we passed more amendments? We have voted on more amendments in the Senate than the whatever.
Well, my buddy Ken Cuccinelli, who runs the Senate Conservative Action Group, sent me a note earlier in the week, and he was telling me, hey, look, this Mitch McConnell, when it comes to Planned Parenthood, he's never really been an opponent of Planned Parenthood. Ken Cuccinelli, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Mark, it's always good to be with you.
Tell us what you discovered.
You know, we put our crack research team on this at Senate Conservatives Fund, and we knew some of the problems, but we found a lot more. If you take Mitch McConnell all the way back to when George Bush Sr. was president, you'll find vote after vote after vote allowing taxpayer-funded research using body parts from aborted babies. You find McConnell voting to overturn the Reagan rule, which I think was put in place when you were in that administration, that prohibited Planned Parenthood from using taxpayer dollars for pro-abortion counseling. Mm-hmm. And then when Clinton was president, that's not a future nightmare, that's the past one, in 1997, he voted against a targeted ban on federal funding for research on these body parts from abortion. So the thing that's most infuriating in all these, Mark, and there are many more votes, there's something like 15 of these kinds of votes by Mitch McConnell over the years, but he says, you know, he used to say, we need the House, now we need the Senate, now we need 60 in the Senate, now we need a Republican president. Well, when he had a Republican president, and let's face it, George Bush Sr. wasn't known as a fighter for the pro-life cause, really, and even he ran into McConnell trying to override his vetoes of taxpayer funding for research using body
parts. All right, hold on that point.
Babies.
So McConnell participated in trying to override George H.W.'s vetoes of taxpayers' funding of body parts for aborted babies?
For the research using those body parts, that's right.
Wow.
That's right.
So he's really a fraud, isn't he? He's really a fake, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Come on. I mean, our members fought him in his primary last year to the tune of almost $2 million by members of the Senate Conservatives Fund.
I know. I was the only national host who supported that guy, Bivens.
I know. And as you well know, there were a lot of other people out there that are often conservative giving him cover, calling him a conservative, doing these other kinds of things. Well, Mitch McConnell has turned out to be exactly the kind of majority leader that we expected him to be at the Senate Conservatives Fund. And, I mean, it's knee-jerk surrender, and it is also not someone who is ever a conservative other than when he's running for re-election. And this abortion issue is a classic example, whether it's voting to try and override a Republican president's veto of this Planned Parenthood-based research on aborted babies, or whether it's seeking to fund it under Democrat presidents. Mitch McConnell has not been there with the pro-life movement. He talks a good game, but when the rubber meets the road, Mitch McConnell has been one of the most important Republican allies for the abortion industry in the last 25 years.
That is a remarkable statement, an accurate statement, but a remarkable statement. So now,
well, and Mark, it's also worth us remembering. You know, he says this all. You know, we just got to show we can govern. Govern to McConnell means surrender, of course, until we get a Republican president. Well, but again, when he had a Republican president, at least 5 of his past votes were for bills that funded Planned Parenthood were when Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. So this excuse of just wait till we get a president will lead us back to a Mitch McConnell that wouldn't support the pro-life position anyway. At least he hasn't in the past. And Mitch McConnell doesn't want people to know this. He doesn't want people to know that he voted to override a George H.W. Bush veto that was an anti-life vote on his part. He doesn't want you to know that he voted to try and overturn the so-called Reagan rule prohibiting abortion, taxpayer dollars for abortion counseling, and the list goes on. But the record is there. The record is clear. And when Mitch McConnell looks to any other issue, whether it's these continuing resolutions, whether it's funding amnesty, whatever it may be, and just says we just need to get through the next year and a half and get a Republican president, your listeners in America needs to remember what he's done on the life issue. He's making the same argument, and it's a fraud. It's a fraud.
All right, Ken Cuccinelli, let me ask you this. This information, is this on your website?
It is. Our members got it. You can sign up for our email at senateconservatives.com. But it is available on our website. It was we did it in the form of a press release, which is where people should really go to look for it on our website at senateconservatives.com.
SenateConservatives.com. Look at the press link, and it'll be there. I think the whole world needs to know this because he's setting up to attack Ted Cruz and if any other conservative Republicans step up. And, you know, we can't shut down the government. Let me ask you about that. We've shut down the government 18 times since 1976. And the government doesn't go away. So what is this, we will do it. Hold on now. Let me finish. We will do everything we can to defend the government, but nothing to defend, as you say, these babies before they're aborted, and nothing to defend the Constitution.
Nothing. I mean, as we saw in the Iran deal, President Obama is a horrendous negotiator. But he looks brilliant when you stack him up against Mitch McConnell and John Boehner. They are so bad. It reminds me of the old joke about the French Army rifle you buy on eBay, never fired, dropped once. I mean, these guys are knee-jerk surrender machines, and Mitch McConnell leads the way. He leads the way on this. It's terrible, and it's bad for America. It isn't just bad for conservatives. It's bad for America. And as you noted, Mark, the government has been shut down many times in the past, and lo and behold, we're all still here and the world kept turning. Is that what we all want? No, but what we really want is the defunding of Planned Parenthood, the defunding of amnesty, the defunding of the Iran deal, and Mitch McConnell won't fight for any of it.
Ken Cuccinelli, it's a pleasure to have you, the Senate Conservatives Fund. You can go to
SenateConservatives.com, SenateConservatives.com, and we'd love to have more folks join us as we try to get a conservative Senate. We've seen how useful a Republican Senate is. Now we need a conservative Senate.
All right, brother. God bless. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Good. All right. Bye-bye. Now, folks, this is how it works on Capitol Hill. Deception, lies. They just want to manage you. They want to position themselves. They want to manage you. They want to control you. So McConnell's out there saying,
well, of course we want to defund it. Doing everything we can. We had a vote on it, you know.
Now, it's interesting. Politico does this interview with McConnell, gets the information, and doesn't say a thing about his past record. The Hill newspaper, they're supposed to be covering The Hill. Not a thing about his past record. Roll call, supposed to be covering roll call votes. Not a thing about his past record. It won't be in the Washington Compost. It won't be in the New York Slimes. It won't be anywhere. I doubt you'll find it on many pseudo-conservative websites because they love McConnell. They protect McConnell. McConnell gives them little pieces of information so they can get more hits on their websites. If it's mentioned, only because Cuccinelli was on the show today. McConnell has never seriously opposed Planned Parenthood's funding of abortion and Planned Parenthood's activities. He's never seriously opposed it. Now he's the Senate Majority Leader, for crying out loud. So they'll have a few pretend votes,
but we're not going to shut down the government.
And Lindsey Graham is scurrying back to Washington, he announced. You know why? I'm not going to allow the government to shut down on my watch. No way. So Lindsey, if that is his name, Lindsey Graham is racing back to Washington to save the day for big government. And then he gets on these debates, and he wants you to think he's mature and he's serious, and he's a conservative, a real conservative, right? A real conservative? The government, $217 trillion in unfunded liabilities. The government, $18.5 trillion in fiscal operating debt. And Lindsey Graham is going to vote to increase the debt ceiling. And Lindsey Graham is going to vote to fund Planned Parenthood. And Lindsey Graham, when we get an unconstitutional ruling from the Supreme Court, says, move along, move along. Lindsey Graham is just one example of 95%, 98% of the Republicans on Capitol Hill who just go along. They complain, but they go along. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.